Matthew's message: heat waves, earthquakes, recent developments. Solar flare with warmest greetings from all the souls at this station. This is Matthew. Let us begin with the statement in our last message that followed the paragraph about developments after the chaos peak was reached. The tenacious puppets of darkness will not allow these developments to occur without putting up resistance. You are experiencing or hearing about two forms of their resistance. Does Matthew have anything to say about the not quite ordinary heat wave hitting Europe? And was the earthquake in Venezuela man-made? If so, for what purpose? Both situations were technologically produced with the same purpose: to sow fear, cause a high number of casualties, chaos, hardship, mass destruction, and homelessness, all of which emit the low vibrations that the puppets of darkness need to survive. Perhaps the earthquake was meant to punish that country's government for not yielding to the deep state's demands, or to warn former President Nicolas Maduro not to disclose information that could have compromised covert activities in Venezuela. Dear friends, rejoice with us over a recent development. The weather warfare technology that the deep state has used for diabolical purposes for over 70 years has been recovered and dismantled by an elite White Hats unit. Do not be discouraged if anomalies do not abruptly cease. When technology triggers an event, the effects are like pushing the first domino in a row. But when that energy runs its course, Mother Nature will take over and steer the planet toward a temperate climate everywhere except in mountain areas. Now there remains the question of the solar flare and the announced 3 days of darkness. It would be helpful if Matthew or God, Arnold, Ashta, could give some answers about this. I wonder if Matthew would include the 3 days of darkness in fear-inducing information. There are many videos on YouTube about it, many of which contain various suggestions about all the things we should do to prepare for the 3 days, or 7 days. And it all gets a bit bewildering. Will we have 3 or 7 days of darkness when the darkness knocks out power grids worldwide? First of all, the sun is your great ally, and what are called solar flares are the high frequencies that download the universal coding to advance the conscious and spiritual awareness of all souls who have absorbed the light. This process also strengthens and accelerates the transformation of carbon-based cells into the crystalline structure that activates dormant DNA strands. Yes, among the fear-inducing information, there is talk of 3 days of darkness. This idea may stem from the least catastrophic of the 3 old scientific theories about the photon belt. When Earth enters the belt, it will find itself in the null zone, immersed in 3 days of absolute darkness. This hypothesis is entirely unworkable, as the planet would be completely destroyed if the vast and powerful belt were in our solar system. But it is not. It is very far away, and biblical references to 3 days of darkness have been debunked by religious scholars. There are no instances worldwide where power grids simultaneously stop working for 3 days, let alone 7, for any reason. However, as mentioned in previous communications, it is wise to have food and other emergency supplies on hand, such as for a local power outage or impassable roads. What could happen is an interruption of all public communication programs, so that spokespeople for the forces of light can speak about events of great importance. The latest news we have is that the matter is still under discussion. Some leaders believe it is the best way to inform the masses. Others think it would create confusion, as people might wonder if the information is truthful or a false flag. We include the following question about the fake Trump, so we can add something to our answer. Since we are seeing a fake Trump, is the Melania we see with him also fake? On the rare occasions when Melania is seen with the fake Trump, yes, she too is an actress. The deep state members who control the imposter at the White House are responsible for actions harmful not only to the United States but to the entire world. When this deception is exposed, and surely it will not be long before that happens, everything this illegitimate government has done will be repealed or, as far as possible, repaired. The millions of people whose lives are being cut short prematurely in the Middle East, Russia, and Ukraine will welcome their reward in nirvana. This form of divine grace applies to all people who are persecuted, suffering, or grieving beyond the experience chosen in their soul contracts. However, we are specifically referring to the malevolent decisions for which the current U.S. administration and the deep state will be called to account. A question about life being an illusion. What is the purpose of physical and emotional suffering if it is an illusion anyway? Why do we strive to be good people? What difference does it make if someone else is not and does not want to be, if it is all just an illusion? One said, "It's theater, and you act it so well you don't even remember." Another said, "It's a game, you can't be serious." My brother Patrick arrived in Nirvana 6 months ago. Does he know it is, or was an illusion? An illusion is something that is perceived as real but has no basis in reality, and referring to life as a well-acted theater show, or a game does not diminish humanity's physical and emotional suffering, part of which is chosen in soul contracts to achieve a balanced experience. Why do we strive to be good people? Your spiritual and conscious evolution goes hand in hand with heeding the powerful guidance system that God bestowed upon every soul in this universe. Conscience, instinct, intuition, inspiration, aspiration, and, as further help, honesty. When people ignore this guidance, especially conscience, the energy expended during life results in regression rather than the balance that is every soul's goal in every earthly life. Mom, please copy our explanation of the difference between illusion and reality that we sent you in a message some time ago. The illusion of third density is the notion that there is only one life on Earth, then you die, and, according to many, you go to a nebulous place, a blissful afterlife, or a fiery hell, where you remain forever. The reality is that this is just one of hundreds, if not thousands, of experiences of a soul living simultaneously in multiple different forms and places in the universe. The illusion is that you are your body, your personality, your traits, your feelings, your achievements, and incidentally, that you have a soul that goes who knows where when you die. The reality is that you are the soul, a part of God, inseparable from Him and from all other souls in this universe. You are living the physical experience you chose to balance other lives, and you are an eternal being. The illusion, depending on one's religious affiliation, is that the supreme being of this universe is correctly represented only by one's own religion and that his laws, as interpreted by that religion, are absolute. The reality is that the supreme being of this universe is subordinate to the Creator, the supreme being of the cosmos. He is an amalgam of all souls, of all life forms, throughout the universe, and knows every thought and feels every feeling of every life form. He cannot interfere with the Creator's law of free will when souls deviate from their prenatal agreements. So it is not his, will be done. Although we commonly say he, God, or source depending on the name one chooses, is the epitome of androgyny, the perfect balance of male and female energies. It is not he who invented religions. Some of his misguided God parts did. The illusion is that evil is the opposite of divinity. The reality is that darkness is the absence of light, the absence of love and spiritual clarity. The illusion is that Earth is a small solid planet whose inhabitants are the only verifiable intelligent life form in the universe. The reality is that Earth is a soul with a planetary body that hosts beings within it, on its surface and above it, and its surface inhabitants, for the most part, are far less spiritually, intellectually, and technologically advanced than many other civilizations. May 23, 2005. Thank you, Mother. Every soul has its own illusion about itself, about every aspect of life, about planet Earth, and about the Creator Source, but ultimately everyone will know the aforementioned universal reality. Yes, dear soul, your brother Patrick in Nirvana knows it. Does living piously include confession? And tithing? Confession has nothing to do with living piously. That Catholic ritual is one of the darkness's tactics to control millions of faithful, insinuating that if they confess their sins to a priest, they will receive absolution and, upon death, can go to heaven instead of hell. Originally, tithing meant sharing a tenth of one's time, energies, talents, abilities, equipment, and other material resources with those in need. This was an act of devotion, and it still is today. It was when church and state leaders decreed that tithing meant giving the church a tenth of one's money that munificence turned into greed and a thirst for control. Is it Matthew or the entire group of souls that decides which questions to include in the messages and which not to answer? Is there a selection criterion, or is it a matter of discussion and agreement? First, let us clarify that all readers' questions are answered. My mother answers most of them. She knows what to answer when the information is in the Matthew books or previous messages. When she is unfamiliar with the subject of the question, we transmit the answer to her, and she forwards it to the asker. Now, therefore, there is neither a selection standard nor a discussion. The unitary consciousness at this station is aware of what is important for people to know. This awareness is as natural to us as breathing is to you. Questions about the soul, ascension, God, the Creator, free will, evolution, nirvana, karma, and dire prophecies are a natural selection, as are requests for encouragement or guidance. We address the issues that readers ask us about, and we know that many others share the same interests or concerns. We choose questions that allow us to add further information on the subject or event, clarify misunderstandings, connect seemingly unrelated elements, and explain the relevance of history to what is happening now. Dear soul, perhaps you wonder why we chose this particular question. It gives us the opportunity to tell you that we want you to think of us as the family members we are, rather than as a group of strangers lost in space. Some of us are your ancestors. Others belong to your future lives. Still others are part of the same soul group and have shared lives with you. There are souls more evolved than us, including archangels, non-physical beings, ascended masters, founders, creator gods, star guides, and seeds. So why did God ask us to serve as messengers instead of them? Because we can relate to you in ways they cannot. All the souls at this station have lived many lives, filled with difficulties, pain, anxiety, anguish, physical suffering, and other challenges that you too face. In these ways we relate to you with empathy, compassion, and hope that better times are coming. When you experience joy, success, and moments of illumination, we feel the same euphoria you feel. When you are confused, depressed, or frightened, we send you an abundance of love and light to lift you out of those depths of despair. In short, we are deeply connected to you personally, beyond the universal and cosmic connection of all souls. Beloved brothers and sisters, you have played an invaluable role in the course of Earth's liberation from eons of darkness. All beings of light in this universe honor you for your unwavering faithfulness to your vital mission and support you with the unparalleled power of unconditional love. Love and peace, Suzanne Ward. Remember, your spiritual home within us resides a consciousness of universal desire for unity, a longing to return to that source from which we came. This all-pervading desire for unity constantly calls us toward our spiritual home. As sentient beings in a world of separate entities, your primary mission has always been to find your way back to your spiritual source, to that original state of consciousness where all is one. Despite the distractions of physical life, despite its noise and confusion, you possess a silent inner drive that makes your soul yearn to evolve and return to its origin. Deep down, you feel the need to reconnect with the unity from which you came. This universal desire for unity always guides us forward, toward our eventual spiritual return and complete oneness. The universal longing for unity is a silent, yet ever-present, call toward our spiritual home. As we master the experiences of life in third density and move toward higher density levels of consciousness, our awareness expands, and we become more aware of the immense vastness of creation. When you allow your awareness to expand further and further, you can embark on an imaginary journey toward all that is, toward your original spiritual home. The planet we stand on is immense compared to the size of a human being. Imagine yourself in space, watching Earth from afar. Imagine the silence and peace that pervade your soul as you contemplate Mother Earth, who has given us this wonderful home in space. Then, with your mind, visualize the sun, imagine this brilliant sphere, and perceive its life-giving energy as your mind adjusts to the fact that the sun is over 1,000,000 times larger than Earth. Now, broaden your viewpoint enough to observe and appreciate the entire solar system. You will realize that there are many other suns in our galaxy. In our Milky Way, for example, there are over 100 billion. Expand your horizon further by imagining seeing an entire galaxy, slowly rotating like a giant disk in the immense peace and tranquility of space. Then, you realize that many other galaxies exist. Now, broaden your viewpoint to include the entire universe, filled with hundreds of billions of galaxies. You realize that, as vast as the universe is, for God to be everywhere, the Creator must be even greater. All of this all things, is contained within the consciousness of the infinite being. Beyond the limits of the universe, beyond the envelope of space, lies only that which created it. The universe is contained within the creative awareness and loving energy of the infinite being. As you feel the infinite being sustaining the universe in manifestation and preserving all life within its infinite aura of profound love, you perceive what your true ultimate potential is. You perceive that all beings in the universe will one day return to embrace this, our original spiritual home, this omniscient, omnipresent, and all-pervading spirit, which underlies all life as we know it. Now, as your attention returns to your space on planet Earth, remember that feeling, that sense of wonder, of wisdom, and that awareness of ultimate potential. And, reflecting on your life, you now understand what it means to be connected to that ultimate inner reality. How? Infinite being, infinite potential. Mother Mary. Using trust and surrender to overcome the need for control. Rob *. So today we continue our series of analyses of each of the keys of infinity, this time specifically focusing on pairing the keys of surrender and trust to overcome the need to control the events of our lives, the thoughts and beliefs of others, and any other aspect. So I'm about to meet Mother Mary. So Mother, The floor is yours. Do you have anything to share with us today? Mother Mary *, welcome, Rob. It is a pleasure to see you again. Yes, I am your Mother Mary, and I have come to speak with you, as you requested, about surrender and trust. As you well know, you are the architect of all the events of your life, of all the experiences you choose to live. So this human need to control events, or to attempt to control them, is in a sense a paradox. In reality, since you are the one who decides what all your experiences will be, you are in fact controlling all events. Control is always in your hands. You decide what you want to experience. Yes, there are some of us on this side who have agreed to be your guides and help you in your decisions, but ultimately, the choice is yours. And so, as you progress on your ascension path, on your spiritual journey, you find yourself wanting to control external events and feeling frustrated when events do not go as you anticipated. This is your human mind, your lower dimensional mind, thinking it is isolated, that it is separate from everyone else. In reality, as you have been able to see through the other keys, there can be no separation from source and all that is. Therefore, all the events of your life, all the events you experience, have been placed there in agreement with you. This is what you choose to experience to show yourself something about your beliefs, your attitudes, your limitations. In reality, the only limits that exist for you in this life are those you have imposed on yourself. So, in human form, once you understand that you are trying to control events, the keys of heaven and the keys of self are the means through which you can overcome that sense of control, that need for control. Release the desire to dictate outcomes, surface outcomes, what appears obvious. But, I repeat, in reality, all outcomes are exactly as you choose them to be, as you have chosen them to be. So surrender your need. Surrender to the divine plan, to my plan, with your help, and therefore to your plan. Surrender to that. Trust. This requires trust, the conviction that a plan exists, that everything will turn out for the best, that something greater is being worked toward. Greater than oneself, greater than what one can see. Everything has a purpose, and it is all perfect in its construction to achieve that purpose. And so surrender goes hand in hand with trust. Once you surrender to the divine plan, you trust that a divine plan exists, that you are part of it, and that everything will unfold exactly as intended. And once you reach that point, the need for control naturally fades away. This too is a human construct, a lower dimensional construct, necessary only in this realm of linear time and sequence of events, because in reality, everything is orchestrated to give you the experience you choose to live, most often to teach you to surrender to something far greater than what you can perceive on your own in this experience. The fact that you are coming to an awareness of these truths means you are on the right track to integrating them into your belief system. And once you do that, life becomes much simpler. At this point, you have accepted that you are connected to everything and are one with everything, and you have forgiven yourself for ever thinking you were separate, and now you trust the divine plan, which ultimately leads you to the full understanding that you are the love that animates everything that gives life to the universe, to the multiverse. We applaud you for your efforts. We are very, very close now and could not be happier. Thank you infinitely for everything you do in support of all those in heaven who, in turn, support you. Go with my blessing and my love. Goodbye for now. What are angels? Angels are evolved expressions of divine energy that have chosen not to incarnate in physical form. Their spiritual evolution is achieved by helping human souls who do incarnate. Physically, interaction can take the form of spiritual guides, offering healing energy to a wide range of activities, or dispensing wise counsel between lives to souls still trapped in the incarnational cycle. Similar to their original role as devic beings, angels assist humanity through support, inspiration, and healing. In return, angels evolve in turn through this selfless service to others. Angels are not subject to the dualities of physical existence and therefore are not influenced by the negative poles of overlapping leaves or the false personality. Angels emanate a purity of energy that is rooted in the forces of the earth and the unchanging presence of the Tao. Over time, angels progress through the other planes of existence, joining larger collectives of angelic souls in groups akin to entities, host, and so on. Is there a difference between angels and archangels? An archangel is an entity composed of the recombination of other angels belonging to the same soul group, approximately 1,000 angelic souls. Although angels do not incarnate in the physical world, they evolve through a great cycle, just like human souls. Since they do not incarnate, they are generically assigned to groups of incarnate souls, usually sparks with whom they were familiar as devic beings before making the choice to become human or angelic. In short, angels evolve alongside these other souls. This is a relationship of mutual collaboration. Angels are so inextricably linked to these groups that the repercussions of catastrophic events affecting the humans to whom they are assigned reverberate throughout the entire angelic realm. What are the specialties of the most famous archangels? Like all entities, or groups of souls, each archangel possesses certain abilities that become more pronounced as their path progresses. Overall, however, the primary focus of an archangelic entity is to gather the experience and wisdom of the individual angels that compose its larger collective, and use them to teach. An archangel's teaching is not only available to humanity, but also serves to instruct and guide those angels who still operate, so to speak, in the trenches of humanity. Much of the teaching concerns the dissemination of healing energy. This is an angel's specialty. Angels are better prepared than any other soul to handle this force with mastery. Famous archangels, such as Michael and Gabriel, do exist, but their original angelic entity has progressed to the higher planes of existence. The archangels who bear their names today are, so to speak, surrogates acting on their behalf. There is a lineage of archangelic energy that continues the work begun by their predecessors. This does not mean that these surrogates are imposters. An angel who claims to be a famous archangel genuinely tunes into the vibrations of the original soul group and can legitimately channel from that resonance. The connection, therefore, is still available despite the departure from the astral plane of the original archangel. The new archangels, now in alignment with the old ones, can act as ambassadors for these older groups, even though, in this case, the true Archangel Michael now resides on the messianic plane. Why are angels depicted in art with wings, halos, and harps? The very nature of art speaks to the creative imagination of the artist. Angels have been depicted in a vast array of forms and attire that, most of the time, demonstrated the artist's imaginative capabilities rather than actual realism. Much angelic art of the past also reflected stories from mythology about angels, largely drawn from religious scriptures and literature. The fact that angels have wings reflects the divine nature of these beings, and the collective imagery of millions of earthly souls who, for much of human history, have imagined angels with wings. Therefore, as part of this collective vision, some angels appear with wings when interacting with humans. Angels are nevertheless spiritual beings and can manifest in any way they wish. Their preferred appearance is that which is most comforting to the human soul they are serving at that moment. What do angels do? If we were to provide a job description for an angel, the entire purpose of their existence is to serve humanity. At some point in its divine consciousness, the soul decides whether to cease further evolution and travel to another planetary system, or to accept human or angelic consciousness. Angels have chosen to serve. It is one of the noblest choices a spark of the Tao can undertake. On the other hand, choosing to serve in this capacity is not without personal benefit, since service to others directly enriches the evolution of the soul that offers it. Ultimately, the pact benefits everyone. What angels do, beyond their basic job description, is so varied that it would be impossible to list every single nuance. Overall, angels heal. They heal with their presence, their guidance, their inspiration, and, above all, with the unwavering commitment of their love. Angels remind us, through their wise counsel and the virtuous examples they offer us, that love is the dominant force in the universe, and that love is all that truly matters. Ashanti, the human/extraterrestrial hybrid. Humanity will transform before that happens. I am Ashanti. I am Suzanne. We are observing human beings. We are witnessing your spiritual evolution, and noting how some of you turn to spirituality in times of great suffering. Many of you become more spiritual after the loss of a loved one, others when they lose their freedom. Some of you turn to spirituality when you have fewer material possessions. You are showing us these patterns, and we can learn more about ourselves by observing you. You are our ancestors, and although we have not faced the same difficulties you have faced on Earth, we still learn something about ourselves through you. We can learn more by observing than by interacting directly with you. We know that your interaction with us will change you forever. We know it will be a spiritual experience, and all you will lose are your old limiting beliefs. Of course, you would not want to completely transform yourselves when everything on Earth is going smoothly. So, when things are not going so well in your experience, you realize that you must transform. Therefore, as you look around and observe the world you face today as a human collective, know that these challenges exist so that you may transform. And what you are transforming into is a higher frequency, more expanded version of yourselves. So it is good that you are where you are, and it is equally good for us to wait until you can get the most out of your current circumstances before we reach out and continue your transformation. You are making excellent progress, by the way, and we know that some of you have transformed simply because you wanted to in this life. So not everyone has had to give up something to embark on the spiritual path, and we have noticed that. We Sasani will continue to observe you and share our findings with you through channels like this, because we want to help you. Even though we know that in the end everything will turn out for the best, we still want to see you enjoy the journey, grow, and expand because you want to and not because you have no other choice. We appreciate you, we love you, and we adore you, and you are fascinating beings to us, and to many others throughout the galaxy. Keep it up. I am Ashanti. I am Sasani. For now, it is goodbye. See you soon. Creations for the Tapestry of Life. Self-care and creativity, dearest ones. Perhaps you are procrastinating, hoping that tomorrow will be fine despite your fear-driven thoughts and actions. Tomorrow cannot be fine if you do not start this simple exercise. Identify what in your life excites you, entertains you, or brings you peace. So you are starting to believe that this new world will never be part of your life, or of anyone you know, that the world is frightening, and will become even more so over time. Stop. Allow yourself to see your world with eyes capable of seeing the joy of a new flower, the courage of someone being themselves despite their fears, or a financial worry that will never materialize. From grand visions to simple things. Seek joy or peace without the constant fear you have lived with for eons in 3 dimensions. Practice. This is another difficult transition step because it seems counterintuitive. You have always known that if this happens on Earth, that will surely follow. And if the sky does not fall today, it will fall tomorrow. Practice. We in the universe are not telling you to pull away from everything or nothing in your life, but rather to look at your fears with new eyes. What glimmer of joy can you perceive even in the worst-case scenario? What do you miss when you paint every scene with fear? What would happen if you noticed even the smallest fragment of joy? And what would happen if you stopped worrying about what might happen? You probably think that we, universal beings, do not belong to Earth, and therefore do not know how frightening it can be. We remind you that you are universal gods and goddesses with unlimited power to direct your life in any direction you wish. It is as if you are prisoners in a cell with an open door that you refuse to use for fear of being captured again. This is not the time to fear what might happen, but rather to begin accessing the abilities that have allowed you to move from one dimension to another and from one frequency to another during periods when you were not on 3D Earth. How do you think those beings to whom you pray or from whom you request special services, who have been on Earth at different times, are now able to move from one place to another or answer you? You are earthly, and you are afraid to believe that you possess the same abilities as those universal beings to whom you implore for help. Of course, it is always easier and less frightening to have someone take care of you, and whom you can blame. But you no longer need to be taken care of, because you possess the abilities you have long admired in universal beings. That is why you receive less assistance than you used to, even if you pray or fervently implore this, or that supposed deity to help you once again. Do you not realize that you are accustomed to asking the universe to take care of you, despite your contrary thoughts? Just as care in earthly realms is ended for you, unless you feel it right within you. Likewise, the universe is stepping aside to encourage you to rediscover the abilities you now possess. You no longer need to implore the help of the universes to overcome this or that trauma, because you possess the same abilities. In a sense, we universal beings have become your classmates, not your parents. Indeed, as you learn to adapt to this new Earth, the universes observe your progress and your dilemmas with great interest and, yes, joy. You had planned to complete this transition at this time with the help of the universes, and you are doing so, not as quickly as you would have liked, but more appropriately than you imagined when you first accepted the role of precursor of the Earth transition. Do not reproach yourself or the universe. The universe is allowing, encouraging, and imploring you to reclaim your new essence and the powers you have denied yourself for eons on Earth. Now is your time to reclaim yourself, regardless of what others think, say, or do. Those petty excuses no longer hold. You are gods and goddesses, like anyone who decides to undertake this transition in this life. Forget the need to hide or feel inferior to what you are. And forget that you once depended on the universes to take care of you, just as you often spurred, supported, and took care of other earthly beings. You are fully capable of taking care of yourselves, of creating yourselves, and of appreciating yourselves. Stop imploring and start creating. So be it. Amen.